At the plant around midday, a rooftop solar is peaking, yet the control room is curtailing it. By 8 in the evening, solar output is gone. A chiller plant, water pumps, and chargers start together. The factory is buying power from the grid again. An obvious answer seems simple: 500 kilowatts of surplus for 4 hours at noon, and the same shortfall for 4 hours at night. A 2-megawatt-hour battery appears to be the answer. But what does the factory actually lack at night? Is it electricity? Or are cooling services, water supply, compressed air, and charging tasks simply scheduled at the wrong time? If you do not separate those questions, the battery can be oversized before anyone selects a model. Before touching the battery design, walk the site. Why does the chiller plant start at night? Is cooling required at that hour, or was none stored during the day? Why do the pumps start at 8? Is that dictated by production or inherited from an old shift schedule? Check forklift charging, equipment cleaning, water transfer, and the compressed air receiver. Which tasks must start on time? Which only need to finish inside a delivery window? Stop asking when each machine normally runs. Ask when the service must be delivered, how much is required, and which operating limits cannot be crossed. Emissions are the means. Cooling, flow, pressure, water level, and completed charging tasks are the demand. Now the coupling opportunity becomes visible. If most of the evening shortfall comes from cooling, surplus solar does not have to enter a battery first. It can run chillers during the day and store cooling in a thermal tank. One less chiller at night means a smaller electrical gap. The same logic applies to heat, compressed air, and water. If the final service can be prepared safely, do not assume electricity must take a round trip through a battery. Service side storage is not free. Cooling is lost. Air receivers have pressure limits. The water tanks face hygiene, level, and process constraints. No option always wins. Compare them in the right order. But once those options are tested, the original gap starts to shrink layer by layer. Move direct solar self-consumption first. Then remove tasks that can genuinely shift without harming production. Then remove the part carried by cooling, heat, compressed air, or water storage. But what remains is the residual gap. That is the battery's actual job. The battery power should follow the highest remaining shortfall, not peak solar output. The battery energy should follow the duration of that shortfall, not the day's total surplus. Then add conversion losses, the usable state of charge window, reserve, and degradation. Otherwise, 800 kilowatt-hours on a spreadsheet may not be 800 at the site. That is why a storage proposal needs an operating state map. Not only a capacity table, how much surplus allows charging, how much state of charge must be protected before the evening peak. When demand exceeds the limit, should the controller pause a shiftable task or discharge the battery? When backup mode starts, which revenue objectives must stop? One question is often missed: what happens afterward? If every delayed machine restarts at 9, the peak has only moved. A good dispatch controls both how a task leaves the peak and how it returns without creating a rebound peak. Return to the simplified example. At noon, the site has 500 kilowatts of surplus for 4 hours. At night, it has the same shortfall. With no operating changes, the theoretical transfer is 2,000 kilowatt-hours. Now assume 300 kilowatts of chiller, pumping, and charging tasks can move safely into the solar window. They reduce evening demand by the same amount without creating a new peak or a rebound. The battery now sees 200 kilowatts for 4 hours, about 800 kilowatt-hours. This is illustrative, not a universal 60% reduction. It proves one principle. Battery capacity is not the starting assumption. It is the result left after the operating plan. The flexibility that looks convincing on paper usually fails in 3 places. First, the start time changes, but energy use never leaves the evening peak. Second, equipment runs earlier at worse efficiency, trading a lower peak for higher energy use. Third, deferred loads return together and create a sharper rebound peak. Do not verify flexibility by counting shifted machines. Measure the net reduction at the grid connection point, its duration, whether production targets were met, and whether the next period paid back the apparent saving. Keep benefit accounts separate. The same kilowatt-hour cannot be credited as solar self-consumption, demand reduction, and market response unless measurement and settlement rules allow it. If you are reviewing a project like this, do not start by asking how large the battery should be. Ask for one map. On a 15-minute timeline, place solar output, rigid demand, shiftable tasks, and usable cooling, heat, compressed air, and water inventories. Uncover at least 2 representative weeks. Mark production windows, recovery behavior, and required reserve. Follow the sequence. Remove unnecessary demand. Optimize each system. Match supply and demand directly. Service-side storage only where a real-time mismatch remains. Give the battery only the residual gap that earlier steps cannot remove safely. The lesson is not simply to buy a smaller battery. Define when the service must be delivered first. Decide where energy should be stored. Next, grade mismatch. If waste heat is available, why does the boiler still have to fire?